So a little over 2 months ago, I asked all of my Twitter followers and just anyone on Twitter about 3D printing. Something came up where we were looking to print a few things for molds, and I've always kind of wanted a 3D printer, so I ended up buying one. A lot of people chimed in with a lot of really great helpful tips and where to look. People were looking at the Creality series, the Ender series from them, and a lot of stuff like that. And ultimately that's what I wanted to go for. So I do have one. It's not set up in here, so we are going to have to head to my garage to talk about this thing a little more. So here we are in my garage. This is my Ender 3 V2 Neo. It's kind of a mouthful to say, but this is the model I went with. Initially I was looking at the Ender 3 V2, but after everyone chimed in on Twitter, which is super helpful, John Marlowe mentioned you want auto bed leveling, and this has that. This little thing over here on the side helps auto bed level it. So that's kind of one of the features I really wanted from this. So right after everyone chimed in, I pretty much immediately found one that was an open box used one from B&H Photo. That's the website. I'll link it below if there's any used models if you're interested. But I hit purchase right away. It was on its way. I was ready to start 3D printing. One thing I feel that's worth mentioning is right after I hit purchase, the folks from Creality did reach out and they told me, hey, you're getting started with 3D printing. Our product's awesome. We're going to send you one. So they did send me one. I have it in a box still because there are a series of upgrades that I want to do to it that I've already done to this. So it's not set up yet. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to the Creality people for sending me over a printer and some filament. I wasn't able to return the open box one, so I do have 2 printers now, and from what I gather from the community, having 2 printers is better than 1 printer at least. So
I tried to return the toaster to the store, and they said they no longer sold that kind of toaster. So now my house has got 2 toasters.
So, and rather than setting it all up and all those things, I want to share 5 things I've learned since getting into this hobby. There are a lot of things to learn, but I have 5 that I think will be really helpful. I did watch a few videos on how to set it up, so I'll link those below as well. Rather than just make another setup video, I'll just share the ones I used. But yeah, we have 5 things that we've learned. So when it comes to 3D printing, my first experience with it was back in 2016, 2013. It's been years ago. I'll include a screenshot of one of my first things I printed here. I was at an architecture firm and we had a MakerBot, I think. I don't even know if that's what it was called, but we would just try to print things and see what happened. And they were never great quality. Fast forward, and there's all sorts of different materials. The mats that are on the bed are removable. So this is a removable mat now. We had a glass bed on the printer that we were using, and stuff would always get stuck. This one actually has damage, which we'll talk about here in a second. So one of the learning points. There are a ton of different materials. So these are all filament. One of my favorite ones is this matte filament from Overture. This one's black. It comes on a cardboard spool, which is really nice. So it's a really nice material. And flat or matte seems to cover some of the imperfections quite a bit. So I actually have a few things I've printed as well. So this is a headphone mount that goes under your desk and sticks. I'll stick it in a minute. But this was printed on matte. So it really hides all the layers really well and all those things, which is nice. So I've really liked the matte. Creality did send some matte white, so I have that one. And if anyone went to Built, I did print all the belt buckles in this material called PETG. It's a really hard plastic that's more durable and stands up to stretching in the sun and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's actually the same kind of plastic that bottles are made out of. So if you saw the belt buckles at Built, that's what those were made out of, was PETG. Another one that's probably my favorite one that I've used so far is this Polyterra PLA, and it's marble. So it has these little speckles in it that makes it look like pottery. So I actually have a clip, I have a little pot that I printed out of this material, and it looks really cool. So this one's a really nice one. It's like a stone series of filament they have, and this one's marble. I really like this filament. And you can buy all this stuff on Amazon for like 15 bucks a roll. It's not expensive. Back when I first encountered 3D printing, we had to order it online for like 50 bucks a roll, and it was crazy. So yeah, the materials in the mats are huge. This mat that I actually have, that is damaged, so I'll bring it closer. this mat needed replaced probably the first day that I got the printer, because I dug into it with the nozzle for the 3D printer. So that little shape right there is actually the exact shape of the first thing you print, which is called a benchy, which is a little boat. This is another failed print as well. But while it was running, I was adjusting the nozzle and I dug right into the bed and had to buy another $10 mat right away. So that was a fun time. I learned to not adjust the nozzle while running the printer, which was fun. So that was what happened there. That leads into number 4 on my top 5 things I've figured out and learned is you need to focus on leveling the bed of your printer. So this is called the print bed, and this one moves around. Back when I first encountered 3D printing, the head just moved and the bed stayed flat and moved up and down. This bed moves back and forth and the head moves left and right. Leveling this is a huge pain. So all these knobs on the bottom are actually for you to adjust it. By default, the printer does come with springs. So I've upgraded, and I'll show a clip here of the spacers I used, but I've upgraded the 2 spacers that are rubber instead of springs because my bed was wobbling and prints weren't working out, they were failing. So that was a big upgrade that I did to this printer regarding the bed leveling. Bed leveling, there's also a video I watched on that, so I'll link that below as well. But there are a lot of ways to level your bed, and this model once again helps you auto level your bed. So huge thing, just making sure it's level is a big pain, and if you get one that auto bed levels, it helps you out a lot. Coincidentally, my Raspberry Pi up here, which we'll talk about in a minute, does have some features that help with that, so we'll show that here in a second. Kind of on that same note of bed leveling is to QA the whole system when you get it. So when you first get the unit, you do have to attach this top part. It comes detached, but the rest is assembled. It's like 4 screws. Those 4 screws you're going to tighten because you have to install them. However, go around and tighten every screw on the system, because I had some loose screws on my bed and the bed was wobbling, so while it's printing, it was doing this. And I had stuff falling off. I'll insert a clip of the breakdancing stormtrooper that fell off. I printed it upside down and this guy just spun right off, and yeah, that print failed as well. I got to watch that all remotely on the little camera, which was fun as well. So time lapses, I pretty much time lapse every print just because I want to have it. I'd rather have it than not have it, and all those things. So QA and check all the screws on the whole system right when you get it, even if you think you don't need to. Kind of tying into that is the remote monitoring. So over here on this corner, I have a arm from a camera mount, and I have a Raspberry Pi and a phone mount. So this is a Raspberry Pi 4 that I had that I was running like ad blocking for my house on. So that's always something that's really fun, but I had this one as an extra, so it now remotely monitors my, my printer. It also captures time lapses, it controls the printer, and it helps you level it. So I'll include a clip of what that interface looks like with the bed leveling and everything, but that's been huge. And I had it sitting here on the table first and it was bugging me, so I ended up mounting it. That way it's all taken care of and really nice. On the same bar that's for cameras, I have a light. This is just a panel light that came with some arms that I have for my desk. I didn't have a use for it, so it came in here and it lights up the bed. That way if I'm recording time lapses, the lighting's consistent. So that's how I get the time lapses to look good as well. So that's all upgrades that I need to do to the next printer, so that's why it's not set up yet. The biggest one though is probably those spacers. Another thing that I've learned, so that was number 3 regarding the remote monitoring. That's called Octoprint. I'll include a link below as well. But that's a huge one to get installed on either a computer or a Raspberry Pi or something you have extra. You can actually use an old laptop as well for that software, which is cool. The second thing is the community is huge. So back when I started interacting with 3D printing at the architecture firm, you would Google how to print things from Revit and you might find one of Jeff's posts from the Revit kid, maybe. And you had to use plugins and all these things to make this happen. Now we have all sorts of models available. This Stormtrooper, I didn't model this. This was from a site called Printables. There's all sorts of helpful people out there. So the community is really huge. Even when I tweeted out asking about 3D printing, I got a lot of replies from people in our AEC community, which was really cool. So getting involved with the community is really big. All of this stuff I've learned along the way is thanks to the community. I didn't figure all this out on my own. I just adapted what I learned from people, so that was a big one. The biggest one though, one more upgrade that I want to talk about that I haven't done yet that ties into the remote monitoring is the fact that I want to get some fire suppression here. Not saying that the printer is going to explode, but it is a running thing inside of your house. So there is a system that actually has fire suppression in tubes that you can mount at the top, and if something happens, it'll actually blast and put out the fire. On that same note, I do have over here on my power strip a smart plug that controls the printer as well. So if I have to turn it off, I can, and that's from a company called Wise. It's just a smart plug that turns on and off. I'm not gonna touch it because it might turn it off right now, and I don't want that to happen. But with that, the fire suppression is something I wanna do as well. I initially started Googling this based on experience I have from the Volkswagen community. So we have a 64 Volkswagen Bug, and if you're part of that community, you know that there are risks of fire if you don't take care of all your fuel lines and everything. For Volkswagens, they have this system that's hoses filled with fire suppressant that you put in the engine bay, and if it gets hot, it pops and puts out the fire. They have something very similar for printers as well. So that's an upgrade that's going to happen soon to this one and the next one. So that way, if we're running these and we're inside, we don't have to wait for a fire alarm to run in and put out a fire. It's always like a risk to have something running, this being in my garage as well. Kind of along that same note is my top thing that I've learned is this is a journey. So setting this up took time, leveling it takes time, printing something takes time, researching takes time. It's definitely a journey of all the things you're going to learn along the way. So essentially you get this running and it's like a glue stick that's printing. But there are a lot of mistakes and things. So for every good print, there's probably a few that didn't work out. Even for what's printing right now, and I'll just grab this from over here, I've had a few iterations of this. So this is a shelf for some spice jars that we're printing right now to clean up all of our spice rack. This has had 2 or 3 iterations now, and we're on the final one that I'm printing a few of them. So that's what's printing right now on the printer. Pretty strong and sturdy, and it has just little screw mounts. This is modeled in Revit, so if you're a Revit modeler, you can now export right out to STL and bring that right into the slicer software as well. But it is a journey. There's a lot of different materials, a lot of different mats, a lot of trial and error and all those things, but it is fun, and you will start to print some things that you could start to find handy. So I'm just looking around because I keep on printing things. A lot of stuff's for my desk. So this one's a headphone hanger once again with a double-sided tape, and you can kind of just stick it under a desk to hang your headphones. So a lot of problems I'm solving are things that I just want for myself around the house as well. But yeah, I hope that helps out. I'll keep sharing things I find out. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll share what I know, as much as I know. But it's been really fun, and yeah, it's been a solid product that I've had. So this Ender 3 V2's been really solid, the Neo edition, that I'm pretty excited to have 2 running. So if you have any questions about this one, let me know. And other than that, feel free to reach out. And yeah, thanks for checking out this video.